Public speaking is a skill that needs to be learned rather than taught. What's the difference between learning and being taught? Learning is active. Learning is where the motivation comes from within, where you participate. Being taught is passive. It relies on external stimuli to come within and be received. Now I'm going to argue my point based on two basic premises. The first one, I'm going to argue that speaking is an innate ability. And secondly, that public speaking is a skill that requires doing. Let's look at these two. Firstly, how did you learn to speak? Did you learn it by one day sitting at a lecture and then the light went up and you suddenly started to speak? Was it maybe that you read a book and suddenly you learned to speak? No, it's absurd. You were a baby observing your parents, imitating them. The motivation for that imitation did not come from outside. It came from something within. And then one day, as you observed, the words came out, Mama or Papa, to the glory and joy of the parents, because they knew that was not something they taught, but something you learned and something that made you human. You could speak. You see, speaking is the way our brains are wired. It makes all the difference. It has been developed over ages and ages of evolution. We are not just Homo sapiens, the ape that walks upright. We are Homo sapiens, the communicator, the one with the ability to speak, share ideas through voice. That's what's making us different. That's what's setting us aside from the rest of the world, the natural world. Let's look at public speaking. Public speaking, I argue, is a skill. A skill is something that we have to do in order to master it. I can tell you everything you need to know about riding a bicycle. I can tell you about being in balance. I can tell you about sitting on the saddle, how to hold the handlebars. I can tell you it in great detail. I can even go further and explain it to you in scientific language. The socio-psychological processes of riding a bicycle. The forces that you have to work with and how you apply Newton's laws to enable you to ride a bicycle. Will that help you to ride a bicycle? What about if I give you a test to ride to prove that you've got a knowledge of riding a bicycle and you get full marks? Will that help you to ride a bicycle? It's highly unlikely. To ride a bicycle, you have to get on top of the bicycle. You have to fall over. Public speaking is the same thing. You have to learn and you have to make mistakes. Only when you stand in front of people and you open your mouth and you start to speak, you will know what public speaking is about. Before that, any knowledge, it doesn't matter how many books you are reading, it doesn't matter how many courses you attend, it will make no difference. You have to stand in front of an audience. Even if it means getting stuck, even if it even means losing your place, forgetting what you want to say. It's a skill that needs to be taught. You see, a skill is different from knowledge. If I give you a book to read, there's so many self-help books. You can read it, and when you close it and you put it down and you do nothing about it, it's useless. Yes, Francis Bacon said, knowledge is power, and he wasn't wrong. But knowledge not being put into application is truly useless. It is a skill that you have to develop. And a skill you can only develop by addressing real world problems. You see, riding a bicycle takes you faster from point 1A to point B. In the same way, when we talk and we have a public discussion, when we engage, there's purpose, there's a solution to our problem. There's a solution to the ability to work together through communication, through inspiring people to do a similar thing so that we can achieve the same goals. That is what public speaking is truly about. Public speaking cannot be taught because it is an innate ability that you own. It is your right because it's natural to you to speak. It's a skill that requires doing rather than passive sitting down and waiting for knowledge to come to you. If you take ownership and understanding that you are a communicator by nature, it will make the difference for you. You will truly succeed as a communicator because you will trust the motivation that comes from within, the essence of your being.